Join me as I dive into the challenge of discovering what really makes Guinness a global beer sensation. They say a great beer carries more than flavor. It carries dreams, failures, triumphs, and often more history than most empires. In a single pint of Guinness, you can taste centuries of relentless ambition, turbulent politics, scientific innovation, and Irish pride. What makes Guinness not just another stout, but a global beer sensation? Welcome to True History in Minutes, where everyday objects reveal their hidden past. Picture this. It's December 31st, 1759. A 34-year-old Arthur Guinness walks into an abandoned, dilapidated brewery at St. James's Gate in Dublin. 4 acres, malt houses falling apart, equipment rusted, water supply unproven. He signs a lease for 9,000 years. Yes, 9,000 for just $45 per year. The owners probably thought he was mad, but that act, audacious as it was, laid the foundation for a legacy. Arthur didn't come from a dynasty. His father brewed estates, but not at throne room scale. Arthur invested the little he had, inheritances, risk, sweat, and turned that failing brewery into something extraordinary. He brewed ale, yes, but soon he saw something in what London brewers were doing with porter. A dark, rich beer, smoky, robust. By the 1770s, Guinness was making porter. By 1799, he'd dropped ale entirely in favor of porter, which would evolve into what we know today as stout. The early years were hard, barrels cracked, funds were tight, competition fierce, but Arthur cared about consistency. Roasted barley for color, hops for bitterness, yeast for life, crystal clear water for purity. He made the recipe deeply simple, yet incredibly precise. From those ingredients, water, barley, malted and roasted, hops, yeast, he wove the DNA of what people everywhere would one day crave. By the turn of the 19th century, Guinness was expanding. Under Arthur's son, and later under Benjamin Lee Guinness, the brewery at St. James's Gate grew. It wasn't just a brewery, it became an institution. Guinness employed thousands, moved shipments by barge, invested in transportation, cooperage, barrel making, in innovations. By 1833, Guinness had become the largest brewery in Ireland. Then there was the matter of flavor and experience. Guinness didn't just want people to drink, he wanted them to feel the beer. And much of that feeling comes from the head, the creamy mousse that sits atop a stout pouring jet black, but revealing deep ruby red in the light. The texture, the thick foam, the cascade effect in a glass. All of these are carefully crafted. One of Guinness's most famous innovations came in the mid-20th century, introducing nitrogen to the pour. The fine bubbles created by nitrogen give Guinness Draught its signature silky mouthfeel. The widget, the tapping of a pressurized pour, these are all technological steps in maintaining the ritual. Global expansion came next. Not easy, often fraught with adaptation. Guinness became known overseas largely via the British Empire and trade routes. For hotter climates, they developed foreign extra stout, stronger, more robust, more hopped up so it could survive long journeys and heat. The beer needed to maintain flavor despite exposure to sun, heat, sometimes poor storage conditions. It wasn't just marketing, it was chemistry, logistics, courage. Back in Ireland, Guinness was more than a business. It was a social force. Benjamin Lee Guinness became a prominent figure in Dublin civic life, investing in infrastructure, housing, arts, philanthropy. The Guinness family built bridges, physical and social. Their breweries were major employers, their decisions impacted lives. Guinness pubs, Guinness employment, people felt connected. Guinness advertising, too, was brilliant. Slogans like, "Guinness is good for you," were used at times when it was advertised as almost medicinal. Some doctors even recommended it for strength, for mothers, for infirm people. The line between beer and belief, between stout and symbolic, was thin. There were challenges. Wars, famine, trade restrictions, changing tastes. The temperance movements, prohibition in the U.S., competition from lagers and light beers, and rising regulatory oversight. But Guinness adapted. They diversified, brewing lighter beers, lager brands, for example Harp, branching into other territories, investing in overseas breweries rather than shipping barrels everywhere. They preserved their core brand while embracing innovation. A dramatic twist. The iconic Harp logo. Chosen in 1862, the Harp symbol of Guinness preceded its adoption as a national emblem of Ireland. When two halves of Irish identity, Protestant and Catholic, were deeply divided, this symbol helped build unity as both national brand and national identity. It's rare for a beer company to carry that much weight in a nation's cultural story. Guinness wasn't just something you drank. It was part of what it meant to be Irish. Think of the brewing space itself. St. James's Gate, the soil, the water, liquor of the public house as older parlance went, the founders. The brewery still sits there. The lease that Arthur signed in 1759 is still honored. Every time Guinness is brewed at St. James's Gate, every time water from the same or nearby sources is used, there's a thread of continuity. That continuity grants legitimacy few brands can match. The marketing, too, has been legendary. The campaigns, "My goodness, my Guinness," the toucan, the playful animal mascots, the witty posters, the art. Guinness mastered storytelling long before social media existed. Every ad built mystique, warmth, sometimes humor. Masters of suspense, the slow pour, the waiting for the head to settle, the glow in the glass. Even the ritual is part of the product. Two-stage pour, letting the beer settle, serving in a proper pint glass. That ritual turned drinking Guinness into an experience. There's also the Guinness Book of Records, born out of a pub debate. Legend says that one evening in 1951 in a pub in Ireland, someone asked, "What is the fastest game bird in Europe?" Unable to agree, the pub's managing director reached for something in the brewery to settle the argument, a compendium of records. This marketing genius made Guinness a part of trivia, culture, competition. The Book of Records sold millions of copies, reinforcing Guinness not just as a beer, but as a brand with curiosity, global engagement, identity. Guinness's global footprint today is vast, brewed in dozens of countries, sold in over 150, with millions of glasses consumed every single day. The same core four ingredients still underlie the recipe. The same brewing processes, carefully maintained across geography, time, even crisis. Consistency, quality, ritual, identity. But history reminds us, nothing is guaranteed. Climate change threatens barley harvests, water scarcity presses breweries. Changing consumer preferences, healthier living, lower alcohol, non-alcoholic options, test the brand's ability to adapt. Guinness has responded with non-alcoholic variants, new product lines, and modernization. But the question remains, how does a brand stay relevant while staying true to its roots? How do you pour innovation without spilling heritage? What makes Guinness a global beer sensation is not any one thing. It's the relentless audacity of its founder, the clarity of its recipe, the consistency of its production, the artistry of its branding, the emotional connection to place, Dublin, Ireland, the way it wrapped itself around stories of strength, identity, unity. Its innovation married to tradition, always with an eye to the next challenge. If you ever travel to Dublin, go to St. James's Gate, stand by the old brewing vats, smell the roasted barley, feel the damp stones. Know that you are in the presence of not just a brewery, but a legacy. A beer that has weathered centuries, wars, revolutions, social change, changing tastes, but is still poured fresh, still settling, still being savored. Because Guinness is more than a stout. It's a story. It's history in a glass. And the next time you lift that black ruby pint, take a moment. You're tasting the bold vision of Arthur Guinness, the hands of Cooper's craftsman, the voice of Irish identity, and a beer that achieved global sensation by staying in many ways humble, rooted, and real. If you like this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Only 9% of viewers are subscribed. If you're one of the 91% just passing through, why not make it official? Smash that subscribe button and help us reach more awesome people like you. There are more untold stories behind what we drink, what we eat, what we build. Let's discover them together. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.